Thank you for joining me once again. This is my update for the 26th of October 2025. I have 5 different topics to discuss with you today. The first one, Russia successfully completed the test of a new nuclear weapon. The second topic, we will talk about the current situation in Kupiansk and in Pokrov. The third topic, we will talk about the attack that was launched on Ukraine by Russia yesterday, the 25th of October 2025. The fourth topic, Donald Trump hopes China will help him end the war in Ukraine. And finally, we will look at how the EU leaders could not brave up to touch Russian frozen assets. They planned to give Ukraine some of those money, but it did not happen. So let's start with the first topic. The Russian president had a meeting with General Staff Gerasimov and the commander of the group of special forces involved in this special military operation in Ukraine. Yesterday, Vladimir Putin was briefed on the current situation on the front line, and some of the information that was revealed are shocking, and we are going to talk about them. Vladimir Putin announced Russia had successfully and completed the test of a new nuclear weapon called Burevestnik by the Russian nuclear power unit. Putin said it is a new weapon no other country has in the world, and the decisive test has now been completed. The test of the nuclear weapon took place on the 21st of October 2025, and the missile covered 14,000 kilometers before it was deactivated. Vladimir Putin claimed this is not the limit of that missile. It can cover 4 times the speed or the distance it covered during the test, but due to constraint of test range, and they had to be cautious, so they deactivated the missile during its flight after it covered 14,000 kilometers. The missile stayed in the sky for up to 15 hours during its test, flying all over North Atlantic Ocean. So you can imagine that missile was in the sky for 15 hours, up to 15 hours, flying, just going to and fro, flying around the Atlantic Ocean. If it were to be harmed with warhead and continue to circle around the sky until its target information is updated, off it goes to a target. You know what I mean? But again, like Vladimir Putin said, they had to be very cautious, and they deactivated the missile after it covered 14,000 kilometers. The characteristics of the Burevestnik allows it to, when it is fired, Vladimir Putin claimed it has a great accuracy against any highly protected object in the world, and it can reach any distance, any country, whenever it is programmed to do so. Those were the report from General Gerasimov to Vladimir Putin during their meeting. Gerasimov told the Russian president that at the moment, currently on the front line, about 5,000 NATO forces and Ukrainian forces are fully and completely surrounded in Kupiansk region of Ukraine. Another 6,000 forces are also surrounded in Pokrov region of Ukraine, with no possibility of escaping or even evacuating or retreating. They are fully surrounded. In both Kupiansk and Pokrov, there is still a small space, a small window of about 5 to 10 kilometers where forces can use to escape or retreat. But it is a death trap because Russia has full surveillance of both cities. Anything that moves is destroyed immediately. Now, I don't know who the NATO commanders or the Ukrainian commanders are that did not make the right decision before this time. They should have evacuated or retreated or left those cities before now. But obviously, Zelensky and the Ukrainian army chief are trying to prove some point. I don't understand what they're trying to prove, but we'll find out. As for me, I think this is going to be a repeat of Mariupol. You remember what happened in Mariupol, right? But this is going to be even worse, because in Mariupol, they had the mine to go under. But in Kupiansk and in Pokrovsk, they don't have any hiding places. Russia is just going to continue to grind and delete them. The only possible option to save as much manpower as possible in terms of forces is for the forces to start leaving behind their equipment, their vehicle, and flee the city on foot in smaller group of about maybe 3 or 4. But again, that is a complete suicide mission. They would suffer devastating losses because Russia drones are buzzing across both cities 24/7. So even if they manage to run out of the city on foot in a group of 3 or 4 at a time, how long is it going to take for them to, completely leave the city when you have about 5,000 to 6,000 of them? It's not going to happen because, like I said, Russian drones are buzzing across the cities 24/7. Meanwhile, the Russians continued their offensive in both cities. Leaflets were dropped in Pokrovsk, especially in Pokrovsk 2 days ago, advising the Ukrainian forces to surrender, be taken as prisoners of war, and treated fairly and better. Or, if they don't, by the 27th of October 2025, which is tomorrow, if they don't surrender, then it only means one thing. They should either brave to fight to or remain in that city forever. You know what I mean? That is what the Russian forces said in the leaflet that was dropped in Pokrovsk about 3 days ago. Surrender, be taken prisoners of war, and live to see another day. Or, if you fail to do so, you should expect to remain there forever. You know what exactly that means. Now, one thing personally for me, one thing I suspect is that I suspect NATO and the Ukrainian forces would try some form of counter-offensive they would try everything. They would throw everything at that encirclement to try to unlock it, and from the outside, to allow the forces that are currently in the cauldron to escape as quick as possible, and then they will fall back. Now, again, that will be another suicide mission. They will suffer a lot of losses, but it wouldn't be as bad as, with nearly 12,000 forces currently being encircled. It wouldn't be that bad. But would you want to take that risk? Instead of putting your hand up and go, you know what, I fought, I tried, okay, I give up. Than to go put yourself in a situation where you will never come out of. Does it make any sense? Now, I'll let the Ukrainian and NATO forces, our commander, make that decision. But we know what they're going to do because they like to prove a point. Let's wait and see what comes out tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 27th. The Russian forces dropped a leaflet. If you don't surrender by tomorrow, the same thing that happened in Mariupol, the same thing that happened in Bakhmut is going to happen to you. So let's wait and see what happens from tomorrow. Now, let's talk briefly on the attack that was launched by Russia on Ukraine yesterday, the 25th of October 2025. Russia launched that wave of attack all over Ukraine. If you notice from my previous video, I told you Russia would definitely punish Ukraine for the attack they launched into the Bryansk region a couple of days ago, I think last week. Well, NATO forces launched this attack because it was missiles that was used to attack, and apparently, as claimed, a chemical plant was destroyed, but we haven't heard anything We haven't seen satellite images to confirm that chemical plant in Bryansk region was destroyed, but the Ukrainian army chief claimed it was hit and destroyed. So that is what it is. Since then, Zelensky ran away from the country. Again, if you remember, I told you Zelensky would not be coming back into Ukraine for weeks because he fears Russian retaliation. He knows how the Russians behave. And at the moment, he is traveling around Europe while his people are being deleted, while his country is being torn to pieces. Can I ask you a question? Do you actually think Zelensky is a Ukrainian citizen? Because I'm beginning to get to that point where I'm thinking, I don't think this guy is actually a Ukrainian. Or maybe Ukraine has done something to this guy's family or to him. I don't understand, because it is shocking that somebody, a human being like you and me, will put his own country, his own people through this kind of pain. So maybe somebody out here knows something about Zelensky. Do you think the guy is actually a real Ukrainian citizen? Or maybe there's a story we don't know about that happened to him, or what the Ukrainian government at some point have done to him. I don't know, because it seems like this guy is giving that country a payback of something that we probably would never know. Zelensky claimed Russia used 770 ballistic missiles, drones, and Kinzhal missiles in that attack overnight on the 25th of October 2025. The capital city was mostly affected. Zelensky claimed, now I'm trying to make a point here, okay? Because he exaggerated on those figures. I'll talk about it and I'll tell you why I think so. He claimed Russia used 50 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles in that attack. 50. Be mindful, these are the claims and number provided by Zelensky. They could never ever be correct. That was not right, that is not correct, and that is not true. Zelensky is playing the victim game here. He needs those Patriot air defense systems. He needs NATO and the EU and the West to give him some of those Russian frozen assets. He needs the money. I mean, the so-called coalition of zombies, he wants them to show pity and contribute air defense system and money to him. Now, why did I say, or why did I question the numbers that was provided by Zelensky? For the first time in 4 years, since I've been doing updates about Ukraine and Russian war or any other war, for the first time, I questioned the number provided by Zelensky. Why did I question those numbers? Let me tell you why. Russia did not give any update. There is no way Russia will launch 50 Kinzhal missiles and 777 or 770 weapons into Ukraine, and Russia did not give an update. That is absolutely no chance in hell. No flight maps of those weapons going into Ukraine was published as usual. That means that attack that was launched was not as big, as heavy as Zelensky claimed. But all we got from a very reliable source, and also from the Ukrainian Air Force themselves, they claim Russia fired 9 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and 62 attack drones into Ukraine. Did you hear what I said? From reliable sources and from Ukrainian Air Force themselves, they contradicted everything Zelensky claimed. They claimed Russia only fired 9 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and 62 Shahed drones in that attack that took place on the 25th of October 2025. Now, they claim they shot down 4 out of the 9 ballistic missiles, and they shot down 50 out of the 62 drones that was launched by Russia. It added up to nothing like 770 claimed by Zelensky. So you see why I told you Zelensky is trying to play the pity, the victim game. But why did he exaggerate on 770 attack weapon? That is just, if Russia used 770 ballistic missiles and 50 Kinzhal missiles, do you think Ukraine will be standing? 50 Kinzhal, that would be a knockout punch. What would Russia be looking for in Ukraine? Why they will use 50 million just for nothing, and they won't give you an update? That is just mine. Why Zelensky made those claims, I don't understand. Come on now. Now, the maximum Kinzhal missile Russia had used at one time, at one attack, since the beginning of this special military operation, the maximum is 7. Go do your finding, go do your research, come back here and do your argument in the comment section. The maximum they used during a single attack was 7, or is 7, as at the time I was making this video today. So where did Zelensky get his figures from? Where did he get all these numbers of 50, 770? I'm confused, I'm shocked. I mean, I don't know. But this guy played that game with the hope that the EU leaders would dip their claws into Russian frozen asset and give it to him. That was why he went to Europe. That was why he's going around trying to be, help me, give me more Oliver Twist, Oliver Twist. Anyway, let me continue. Meanwhile, Zelensky is going all around Europe asking for more sanctions to be imposed on Russia. He is not satisfied. He is never satisfied with anything. You give him 1, he will request for 2. You give him 2, he will request for 10. You give him 10, he will request for 20. Nothing is ever good enough for Zelensky. So, I mean, what is going to ever be good enough for a man that doesn't value the lives of his own people? Nothing. Nothing will ever be good for someone like that. He said Europe and the United States need to put more pressure on Russia. More sanctions should be imposed on Russia. And he continues to beg for those Tomahawk missiles so that it can escalate what is currently going on, even worse. That is what Zelensky is doing. And remember what I told you. I said Zelensky would not go back to Ukraine, and he would not be returning to Ukraine for weeks and weeks because he had gone to look for trouble. And now they take him out of the system. What happens to the ordinary Ukrainian people? If you're watching this video, let's be honest. You support Ukraine, you Slavla, Ukraine, whatever, okay. What about the ordinary Ukrainian people that are taking the hit for an offense, for a crime they know nothing about? What about them? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Now, let's talk about Trump. Donald Trump, the master game player. Trump said he's going to meet President this guy. He talks about this man badly and bitterly behind closed doors. And then when he comes out in the open, he's praising them. He praised President Xi as a good friend, that he would love China to come on board and help to broker a peace deal for Ukraine. He wants President Xi to help him talk to Vladimir Putin, to at least sit down and, let's have a peace talk to end this war in Ukraine. Now, before I continue, let me remind you something again. Those of you that seem to forget very easily, Russia tabled 8 different peace proposals, whether good, whether bad, whether terrible. They tabled 8, and none of the 8 was even looked at or even checked or even discussed. The moment Russia tabled them, the EU, Joe Biden, master, they sweep it off the table in the bin. They don't even look at it. 8. And here we are, people are blaming Russia because it is Russia, isn't it? They're not blaming, they're not, oh, Russia should come and sit down and talk. When Russia had been begging, had been pleading, let us end this war. But because Russia was pleading, because Russia was begging, because Russia was tabling peace proposal, they thought Russia was losing. They thought Russia was struggling. But Vladimir Putin outplayed the entire West completely. They fell into Russia's trap. Vladimir Putin is a master in this game. And they fell into his trap big time. So here we are. Donald Trump is saying he hopes presidency will help broker a peace deal, will help talk to Russia to come sit down and discuss and find an end to this war. Here's what Donald Trump said, word for word. He said, I would like China to help us with Russia. The United States president, he said this while he was on Air Force One, when he was going to Asia. He said he will meet the Chinese president and he will also meet the South Korean president. He's also looking forward to meet the rocket boy, Kim. So here he is. 1 minute he goes against these people in public. The next minute he comes out and tries to, But Donald Trump said all of this could be wishful thinking. I love that guy because he's very brutally straightforward. We know he does what he does, but Donald Trump is brutally straightforward. He said he hoped to meet with President of China to help broker a peace deal to end this war. At the same time, this could be wishful thinking. Don't bank on it. He said, however, Russia is China's best friend, and he's hoping that, they will come around and talk and end this war. First, Donald Trump is coming into office. He promised you and me, he promised the Americans he would not continue in Joe Biden's shoe. He would make sure he end this war in Ukraine. This war is not his war. But here we are. Donald Trump had taken full control. He is now in the same place Joe Biden left things. But the thing with Trump is, why Donald Trump is worse. Now, I'm going to use this word. Donald Trump is worse than Joe Biden in the sense that Donald Trump is playing hide and seek. He doesn't want to take blame for anything, but he's making things happen behind closed doors. He says one thing in public, he goes out and does another thing. 1 minute, I will not give money to Ukraine. The next minute, billions pumped into Ukraine. The next minute, I will not give those missiles or weapons to Ukraine anymore. The next thing, they pump weapons into Ukraine. Nobody trusts the United States anymore. Now, when I mean the United States government, not the people. The United States people are fantastic people. They done nothing to no one. It is their government. Let's move on to EU leaders. Like I said, Zelensky made all those comments about the amount of missiles and drones Russia launched to attack them yesterday, just to get some sorry and pity attention from the EU, because they were discussing giving Zelensky, I think, 1.4 billion from the interest Russian frozen asset had generated. That was why Zelensky played that card, but it didn't work. It didn't work in the sense that the EU refused to give Zelensky a penny from Russian money, but they promised to continue to help Ukraine defense by gathering money and providing weapons for Ukraine. I thought the EU said they are not afraid. I thought you said, you watching this, I thought you said the EU are not afraid, that NATO is not scared. Why didn't they touch the money? Russia is not holding, they have the money. Why didn't they touch it? Why didn't they spend it? Why didn't they even give Ukraine the interest on that money? Because they know what is going to follow. They know what is going to follow. Now, the trick Donald Trump is trying to play here with China, NATO, China, South Korea and North Korea, I don't know. But let's wait and see what comes out. Let's wait and see what comes out. Like I said, the EU leader refused to give Ukraine a single penny from Russian frozen asset, not even the interest, but the promise to continue to support Ukraine defense and to continue to support Ukraine with weapon. That is all I have. Now, the decision was already pre-made. They already made that decision even before that meeting took place, that they were going to give Ukraine 122 billion in Russian frozen asset held in Belgian bank. But after the Belgian authority came out and go, the Belgian authority came out and go, listen, if you give Ukraine that money, who is going to pay you back? Because Russia will need that money back. When they asked that question, I suppose some of you saw that video. The guy spoke for nearly 20 minutes. You want Belgium to give Ukraine 122 billion of Russian frozen asset that we are holding? I'm sorry, we can't do that. Russia has money in other European countries. Tell them to give those to Ukraine. Who is going to pay that money back if we give it to Ukraine? Because the owner of the money is going to come for the money when it's time, right? This war is not going to be forever. At some point, it will end. It will stop. Everything will go back to normal. Who is going to pay Russia back? Then what do we have to explain to Russia? That your money we have in our bank, we gave it to Ukraine. Then we are going to be in trouble. So unfortunately, nah. Nah, we are not going to do that. Let me round up. I'm conscious of the time. Let me round up this update very briefly. Something I heard yesterday. I heard Russian authorities are now evacuating the Belgorod region of Russia near a dam that was hit, a massive dam, electrical power generating dam was hit by Ukrainian drones yesterday, and it caused a massive damage to the reservoir of the dam. And they suspect it is going to flood the whole Belgorod. So they're beginning to evacuate people from that region. I'm looking deep to get more findings into that attack from Ukraine. Once I find out, I'll come here and update you guys. And yeah, here we are. I hope you enjoyed this brief, long update. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If there's anything new you know, share it with us in the comment section. If you enjoyed the update, please indicate by giving us a like. And if you think the video gone a bit too long, please indicate that in the comment section and we'll look at maybe making the video a little shorter. But this is just general update. I haven't made a video in the last 3 days, so I thought I will put everything in one. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and God bless.